Eliot Crane was 20, but the way he moved through Vanstone Bank was like a man twice his age. Calculated, cold, always watching. The youngest executive, a rising star whose charm cloaked a dangerous secret. Every handshake, every smile, was a mask hiding the darkness beneath. Marcus Fields, also 20, wasn't meant to belong in this world. But friendship with Eliot pulled him in deeper than he ever wanted. At first, Marcus admired the polished perfection, but soon, unease crept in like a whisper in an empty hallway. It started small. A ledger here, a suspicious transfer there. Numbers that didn't add up. Marcus's gut twisted every time he logged into the system late at night, alone, the hum of the building around him like a predator's growl. One night he stumbled on something horrifying. Millions flowing through shell companies tied to crime syndicates, laundering blood money through the bank. But worse, he found names, faces, and a ledger with dates matching a series of deaths the city had barely noticed. Accidents, suicides, overdoses, none accidental. His breath caught. How deep did Eliot's sins run? Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from Eliot. "Meet me. We need to talk. Alone." Fear slammed into Marcus like a wave, but he had to know. He walked into the underground parking garage, cold, silent, a vault of shadows. Eliot waited, face unreadable. "You were never supposed to see this," Eliot said softly, voice low like a razor sliding against skin. "I'm telling you to stop," Marcus said, trying to steady his voice. "This is dangerous." Eliot's eyes sharpened. "Dangerous? This is life. You think you're safe? Think again." Suddenly, footsteps echoed. A third figure emerged from the darkness. Lina Reyes, compliance officer, fierce and fearless. "You don't want this fight, Eliot," she said, voice steady but tense. Eliot's smile vanished. The air thickened like a storm about to break. Before anyone could react, the lights flickered and died. Panic surged, breaths shallow, shadows swallowing the garage hole. A scream pierced the darkness, harsh, desperate. When emergency lights flickered on seconds later, Marcus lay bleeding, his eyes wide with shock. Eliot stood over him, hands shaking, a knife dripping crimson. "Why?" Marcus gasped, voice barely a whisper. Eliot's answer was a cold breath. "Because betrayal is unforgivable." Lina scrambled for her phone, hands trembling. A shadow moved behind her, a figure she didn't recognize. Fear coiled in her chest. She ran. Eliot's voice followed her, low and menacing. "Run all you want. This game's not over." Weeks later, Lina surfaced, battered but alive. Marcus's body was found, drowned, silent, his story buried beneath a wave of lies. Lina reached out to Maya Thompson, a journalist who chased shadows for a living. Together, they began unspooling Eliot's web of deceit, each revelation darker than the last. Threats escalated, broken windows, anonymous texts, the feeling of eyes watching from every corner. One night, Maya's phone lit up with a chilling voicemail, Eliot's voice, calm and terrifying. "You think you're safe in the light? Darkness always finds you." The climax came at a gala shimmering with wealth and power. Federal agents moved through the crowd like specters. Eliot's empire was cracking. Cornered, Eliot lunged at Maya, desperation fueling his rage. Lina stepped in, heart pounding. "It's over, Eliot," she said, voice iron. His eyes flickered, pain, regret, madness. Handcuffed, dragged away, Eliot's reign collapsed under the weight of his sins. Months later, Lina stood alone at Marcus's grave, rain blurring the world into a hazy memory. "Justice," she whispered, "may be slow, but it never forgets." And somewhere in the city's shadows, the whispers began anew. "Beware the darkness behind the suits, for not all monsters wear fangs, some wear smiles." Eliot Crane sat in the sterile interrogation room, cuffs biting into his wrists, the weight of his empire crashing down around him. The cold fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, relentless and unforgiving. No place for dreams, only for reckoning. But Eliot wasn't done. Behind that calm, icy gaze was a mind still scheming, still hunting. The news exploded. Headlines screamed betrayal and murder. Vanstone Bank's reputation lay in ruins. The city whispered of Eliot's fall, but few knew the depths of the darkness he dredged and how many more skeletons lurked in his closet. Lina Reyes wasn't safe yet. Every shadow seemed to stretch toward her. Anonymous threats escalated into a break-in at her apartment. Nothing stolen, just a warning, a cracked picture frame, a blood-red X smeared across her door. Maya Thompson dug deeper, sensing a far darker conspiracy. Eliot was a kingpin, but what if he was only a piece? What if others, hidden and powerful, pulled the strings? One night, Maya received an encrypted message. "You exposed Eliot, but the real monsters are watching. Stop or lose everything." Fear gnawed at her, but curiosity clawed louder. Lina and Maya teamed up with federal agents, building a case that stretched beyond Eliot to shadowy international networks laundering millions through front companies worldwide. But trust shattered again. One of the agents leaked information. Lina discovered it after a whispered conversation in a dark parking lot, her phone vibrating with a text, "You're next." Betrayal cut deeper than any knife. Torn between who to trust, Lina fell into paranoia, every knock a threat, every glance a warning. Marcus's death haunted her, his unfinished fight now hers. The city felt colder. Then, in the darkest hour, a breakthrough. A confidential source within Eliot's network contacted Lina. A voice trembling with fear but determined. "There's more," the whisper said. "Names you never heard. A council pulling strings in shadows." Eliot was their puppet, but he snapped. Lina's world shifted. Eliot wasn't the mastermind. He was the tip of an iceberg, the surface of a sea of corruption so deep it swallowed justice whole. Maya's articles exposed the council's web, sending ripples through political and financial spheres. Arrests followed, but the puppet masters remained ghosts. The story closed on a rainy evening as Lina stood at Marcus's grave again, rain washing away the city's grime but not its sins. "Justice is a long game," she murmured, "but I'll keep playing for you." Because in the world Eliot built, silence was deadly, and only the brave dared to speak. What drives a person like Eliot, gifted, young, and powerful, to choose corruption and violence over integrity? Is ambition alone enough to justify crossing moral lines? How does blind trust among friends become the most dangerous vulnerability, and could Marcus have seen the betrayal coming sooner if he had listened to his instincts? In a system where power protects the corrupt, can justice ever truly prevail, or is it always a game of shadows where the innocent pay the price? How do fear and paranoia affect Lina's choices, and at what point does survival blur into losing oneself in the fight against evil? What does this story say about the price of silence, both for those who hide crimes and those who choose not to speak out?